How do you know, are you confident that you know that gender is as binary as you're describing it? Are you confident that it isn't a spectrum?
I am.
You know this as a scientist?
Well, there's two X chromosomes. If you're a woman, an X and a Y, that means you're a man. So there's a biological basis for this.
There's a lot of scientific research out there that says gender is a spectrum.
All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. We got to take a look at this video of Vivek Ramaswamy sitting down with Chuck Todd on NBC's Meet the Press. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't know too much about Vivek Ramaswamy until I saw him debating Don Lemon a couple weeks ago on CNN. And there's a lot of people saying that that's what led to Don Lemon being fired, although I think he had that coming regardless. But that's beside the point. In this video, Chuck Todd was pressing him on his vision for America if he's elected president, and pressing him on a lot of the cultural issues that we have in this country and how he plans on addressing them. But just to give my 2 cents before I start this video, I like Vivek's message. I don't know too much about the guy personally. I don't think nobody does at this point, at least on a global scale or on a national scale. He's getting his message out and growing his popularity leading up to him running for president. We still got some time, but I like the idea of unity that he's pushing in the sense that America needs an American identity, that everyone can kind of come together and agree upon certain values, you know, that go along with being American, that everybody can agree upon so that we could be less divided and more unified. Everybody knows the old saying, united we stand, divided we fall. And I definitely think America is in the middle of a huge identity crisis right now. But for Vivek, regardless if he wins, makes it as the Republican nominee to run for president, I think that this whole bid that he has in running will do great at building his stock so that he could run again another day, even if he's not, you know, the Republican candidate. He's a young guy, so he got a lot of time. But with my 2 cents out the way, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe while we watching. Now let's roll it.
To folks, I get it in a primary. Why are you convinced this message could actually work if you got the nomination in a general election?
I think I'm speaking as a member of my generation here, Chuck, but I think it's true of all Americans. We're all hungry for a cause right now in America. We're hungry for purpose and meaning at a point when the things that used to fill our hunger for purpose, faith, patriotism, family, hard work, these things have disappeared. So I see an opportunity to revive our missing national identity. I think that's something that Americans hunger for across the political spectrum, answering what it means to be an American today. You ask people my age that question, you get a blank stare in response. I think that is the vacuum at the heart of our national soul. I'm running for president to revive the ideals that actually set the nation into motion. I think it's going to unite the country.
You know, it's interesting. Your rhetoric can sound uniting, and your answer just now. But then you say the following things. The trans movement has become a cult. We need to abandon climate religion in America. I definitely find the idea of systemic racism revolting. I say this, how do you square those statements with unification? These are divisive times. This is a polarizing time. We're pretty evenly divided on these cultural issues. How do you unite the country when you're essentially denigrating the views of half the country?
I don't think I'm denigrating the views of half the country. I mean, let's take the touchiest of those subjects right now on the trans issue. I think that when a kid says that I'm born into the wrong body, that my gender doesn't match my biological sex, more often than not, that is a case of a mental health disorder. That doesn't mean you disrespect that person. It means they're crying out for help. I met with 2 young women who regret the decisions they made, going through double mastectomies, one a hysterectomy, chemical intervention, now trying to teach kids across the country that when you're struggling inside, going through adolescence, yes, that involves some struggle. We live in a cultural moment today where adults are affirming that confusion rather than actually treating them compassionately. That's cruelty.
You ever talk to parents that have a kid who's going through this?
I have, actually. Yeah, and
I mean, it's a my point
is, it's a difficult place to be. I acknowledge that. But what we need to do on both sides here is act with compassion, not really what makes us feel good about ourselves. And I think that's my main issue across our response to transgenderism and the climate. It's solving the actual underlying issues rather than what allows you to signal your virtue.
What makes it compassion?
Great point that he made. It's about solving the issues at hand and getting people the help that they need rather than signaling your own virtue. I've gotten heat for being quote unquote too harsh on the trans community and some of my commentary, but I promise it doesn't come from a place of hate, negativity, or wanting to put people down. I'm just a firm believer that you can't change your sex. Gender is rooted in biology, it's rooted in sex. So you can't change your gender. There are only two genders. There are only two sexes, you know, and there are many people that share that view. Now, does that mean that you're supposed to go out and disrespect people that are dealing with this issue? You know, no, you're not supposed to disrespect people. Like Vivek Ramaswamy just said, it's not about that. It's about getting them the help that they need. We've understood gender dysphoria as a mental condition all of this time, but now you have people who are just affirming these wild thoughts and these notions that kids are having and that even adults are having. Now, when you're an adult, you can go and get whatever surgeries you want, and you know it's nobody's business. But when you're a child, you know, you got to be careful about affirming children and pushing them too deep into something that can have lifelong effects if they decide to, you know, get chemical drugs and treatments and you know, even worse, you know, actual cosmetic surgeries that are irreversible. I think when it comes down to kids under 18 years old who are deeply thrusted and heavily into transgenderism, I think that's where it easily is a winning point for people on the right and Vivek Ramaswamy himself, and that's where the focus should really be on when it comes to that issue.
Passionate, though, to pass a law that denies a parent making their own healthcare decision for their kid. That's the part of this. That doesn't sound very conservative and small government to me.
Well, look, there isn't a state in this union that allows you to smoke an addictive cigarette before the age of 18, that allows you to get a tattoo before the age of 18. That's a body-altering change that a kid may later regret in life. So I think it is perfectly reasonable to say that if you're after 18 years old, you're free to decide whatever you want to do. That's what it means to live in a free country. But below the age of 18, I think it's perfectly legitimate to say that we won't allow genital mutilation or chemical castration through puberty blockers
You're
for the
calling
purpose
it
of
that,
gender transition.
but how do you know it's that? Again, how do you know, are you confident that you know that gender is as binary as you're describing it? Are you confident that it isn't a spectrum?
I am.
You know this as a scientist?
Well, there's two X chromosomes if you're a woman, an X and a Y. That means you're a man. So there's a biological basis for this.
There's a lot of scientific research out there that says gender is a spectrum.
Chuck, I respectfully disagree. Gender dysphoria for most of our history, all the way through the DSM-5, has been characterized as a mental health disorder, and I don't think it's compassionate to affirm that. I think that's cruelty. When a kid is crying out for help, what they're asking for is, you got to ask the question of what else is going wrong at home? What else is going wrong at school? Let's be compassionate and get to the heart of that, rather than playing this game as though we're actually changing our medical understanding for the last 100 years. I go back to this.
And that's another great point that he's making. We have so much affirmation and not enough pushback or common sense, whatever you want to call it, which is especially dangerous to kids who are under the age of 18, who are being put on this fast track to make life-changing decisions at a young age. And, you know, it's a shame that they telling parents that if they don't put kids on this fast track, if they don't affirm their gender, that they will somehow play a role in, you know, their kids deleting themselves or harming themselves is sick.
If a parent is dealing with a child that has these, that may have these issues, trust me, the last thing they want to do is consider something like this. But if that is what they think could help their child pursue happiness, or they're not to kill themselves, why take away that option? Again, why shouldn't it be up to the parent?
So part of why parents now suddenly feel that way, let's ask ourselves that, Chuck, is we've created a culture that teaches parents that they're being bigoted or that they're bad people if they don't actually take those steps. So part of what I think is, listen, gender dysphoria, for the rare few people who have suffered it, is a condition of suffering. My question is, why on earth are we going out of our way to create even more of it? And there's no doubt that the cultural movement in this country, even education, is creating more gender dysphoria. If it's a condition of suffering, let's not create more of it. That's what we're doing.
Let me ask you about the Disney dust-up with Ron DeSantis. On one hand, I assume you agree.
The cultural movement in this country, even education, is creating more gender dysphoria. If it's a condition of suffering, let's not create more of it. That's what we're doing.
All right, guys, so that's it for the video. I will leave the link to this in the description down below so that you can check out the rest of this for yourself if you are so compelled and interested to do so. Closing remarks, I think Vivek is a pretty sound guy. He got some good ideas, and he don't seem scared to go and present them and debate them with anyone. We've seen him on CNN. We've seen him on NBC. We've seen him a lot these days. And like I said, regardless of, you know, if he makes it out as a Republican candidate, I think him going on this crusade will be good for him to build his stock, and that he will grow a lot of popularity, continue to grow a lot of popularity as he runs. But Let me know what you thought about this in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe when you're at the door. And until next time, you guys, I'm out of here. Peace.